will go to the next amendment.
Protesters on hand again to let lawmakers know what they think about their votes on gun control. Lawmakers today for the first time took up the school safety measures introduced by Governor Scott last week, including gun bills that are strongly opposed by the NRA. So far, the plan has only made it through the Senate Rules Committee. They voted in favor of a bill that would raise the age to purchase rifles from 18 to 21 and create a 3-day waiting period. But they voted against adding an overall assault-style weapons ban to the bill. That's what led to the backlash from gun control advocates who were listening in.
The amendment is not adopted. We will go to the next amendment.
The gun bill still needs approval by another committee before the full Senate can vote on it. The House is looking at a similar bill, but there are 10 days left in the legislative session.
An article published by the NRA is getting attention now, almost 4 years after it was first published on one of its websites. Reasons why states should reject assault weapon and large magazine bans. That's what it was called, similar to what Florida lawmakers attempted to bring up today. Now, here are just a few of the reasons listed in that article. Number one, criminals could easily get around a limit. You hear that one a lot. Number two, criminals could switch to a gun that's a little bit easier to hide, which wouldn't be a good thing. And semi-automatic firearms are not more powerful than other guns. Now, the list wraps up with what they call a slippery slope. Now, that is a concern that more guns could be added to a ban list just by labeling them assault weapons.
Yeah, we heard that tonight in our conversation on Facebook Live. Nobody expressed concern about individual state bans referred to in that NRA article that Alex was talking about. But what you were vocal about was whether or not Americans in all states should have access to an AR-15 or a similar semi-automatic military-style rifle or large magazines. On that issue, you were split, with slightly more than half of you saying no to any bans. Vanessa says we have the right to protect ourselves against a tyrannical government. Need my AR for that, not taking my guns. Lynn agrees. She says because we the people are to be armed as strongly as our police or military in case of a tyranny. That is way it is in Article number 2, referring to the Second Amendment there. Now, most of you who commented on both sides tonight say that you are gun owners and that you want the Second Amendment protected, but then many of you also believe in having limits put on some guns. Brad's one of them. You said the NRA has a place, but an 18-year-old doesn't need an AR-15 or anything like it. And Raymond, you added assault weapons and large magazines belong in the military and law enforcement only. Raymond, we had a lot of people say that same thing tonight, and I'd love for you to weigh in and tell me what you think. Just go to the 10 News Facebook page.
One of Florida's biggest advocates for gun rights wants to take his fight from Tallahassee to Washington. State Senator Greg Steube from Sarasota is running for Congress. The seat is held right now by Tom Rooney, who won't run for re-election. Steube has sponsored state bills to allow guns in government buildings and in schools. In his campaign announcement, Steube says, as a pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, anti-illegal immigration fighter for our constitutional rights, I will proudly support Trump and his agenda in Washington. Steube has already picked up endorsements from several Republican leaders. While lawmakers and activists debate ways to stop school shootings, there are still so many questions about what happened in Parkland. So we are digging deeper into transcripts from a woman who warned the FBI about Nicholas Cruz to see which warning signs were missed. The call came in 5 weeks before the mass shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School. The caller, whose name is removed from the transcript, said she was worried that Cruz was going to explode. We don't know the relationship between Cruz and this caller, but she talks about witnessing some horrifying things inside his home. She said, quote, he pulled a rifle on his mother before she had passed away because he wanted to get money. The woman says, quote, I just know I have a clear conscience. If he takes off and just starts shooting places up. The FBI employee responds by saying, okay, and did he say he would do that or he just wanted to, ma'am? I want to bring in Nightside reporter Josh Sidorowitz. Josh, you took this transcript to a psychologist to see what she thought about it.
And I did, and I specifically asked her about the response there from the FBI about whether he would or wanted to shoot up someplace. And maybe not very surprisingly, she said that shouldn't make a difference.
I think, unfortunately, what sort of mandates and laws and regulations that maybe law enforcement have or police officers or other, governing bodies have in terms of intervening are different than, what I would encourage from a medical standpoint. And that's where I think things get a little bit more tricky.
And Josh, the caller also talked about Cruz abusing and torturing animals and says, quote, he brought the bird into the house, he threw it on his mother's kitchen counter, and he started cutting it up. Yeah, it's something I also asked Dr. Reese about. She says signs like those are textbook red flags. And the caller ends with a very eerie note. She says, quote, he's thrown out of all of these schools because he would pick up a chair and just throw it at somebody, a teacher or a student, because he didn't like the way they were talking to him. I just think about, getting into a school and just shooting the place up. Before Dr. Reese and I wrapped up our conversation, I asked her, okay, as a mental health professional, are you not left dumbfounded as you're reading this transcript? And she agrees. It's really a startling example, she says, of a much bigger issue.
It's very sad because I've seen this not just in this situation, I've seen it in my own practice where families have asked for help in a way and sort of, they don't get the help that they need at that moment, and then it leads to a very poor outcome. And so again, I think it's a system issue that needs to be addressed, from multiple levels. In Catalina, 2 days after the shooting, the FBI did publicly acknowledge that it did not send the tip to the FBI Miami field office. And today, a Florida House committee recommended a full review into how government agencies dealt with warnings about Cruz like this phone call.
And a former Broward County school resource officer is now defending himself against accusations that he acted unprofessionally or with cowardice during the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. The attorney for its Deputy Scott Peterson says his client thought the shooting was coming from outside the school and took up a position outside, which is protocol were it to have been that type of incident. Peterson resigned last week after Sheriff Scott Israel accused him of failing to confront the shooter, Nicholas Cruz. Peterson's attorney says he's confident an investigation will exonerate Peterson. Tonight, deputies are still looking for the man who attacked a woman in a park and took off with her shorts. This is a sketch of the man deputies are looking for. It happened on the Northdale Lake Park Trail in Tampa Saturday afternoon. Investigators say the man came up from behind the woman, threw her to the ground, and took her shorts off. He then ran away holding them above his head. If you recognize this man, contact the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. It's a story that first got a lot of attention on our Facebook page. Now tonight, some of our viewers are questioning this Tampa woman's claims that she was the target of racism at work. Her post of the alleged incident says someone left a monkey with the noose around its neck, along with a handwritten note, which includes the N-word. Nightside Sarah Rosario has been looking through all of your concerns.
Yeah, Catalina, after seeing many of our viewer questions and their responses on Facebook, I went back to the 3 sources in this case. First, I spoke to that alleged victim, Terry Seiler. She's the woman who's behind that post. And I went over the sheriff's office report again, and I spoke with her boss, and here's what I found. There are a couple discrepancies, mostly when it comes to the date of that alleged incident. So in our original interview, she told us she went crying to her boss on Thursday saying, I just found this racist message at my desk, right? Well, if you take a closer look at what she actually wrote on Facebook, take a look at it. It says it was posted Wednesday night, and it says, I go to work this morning, and this is at my desk. So that was on Wednesday. So it appears that she posted it a day before. So I pointed out that discrepancy to Terry. I flat out asked her today, I said, when did this happen? She said it did happen on Wednesday, but I waited a day to tell my boss. So we took a look at the sheriff's office, their report, and their report is telling us a different story. So when talking to investigators about what happened the day before, according to the report, she said she left work Wednesday at 3 p.m. So again, her statement makes it sound like that alleged incident happened on Wednesday, and the next day, on Thursday rather, and then the next day is when she reported it. So still, Seiler's boss is standing by her claims and is taking measures to make sure that she feels safe. Even installing security cameras just this morning. The sheriff's office has closed its case, saying there isn't enough evidence.
The Lightning woke up this morning as the NHL's best team, with arguably the best goaltender and one of the best point leaders in the league. They were the favorite to win the Stanley Cup before today's trade deadline. Then they just went bonkers, swinging a blockbuster deal for one of the best defensemen in the league, basically assuring that the Stanley Cup is going to go through Tampa Bay. At least that's what everybody thinks at this point. Guys, this is huge. Even if you're not a hockey fan, you know it. 2:59 Eastern is when it came down. The Lightning picking up one of the best defensemen in the league and Rangers captain Ryan McDonough, an 8-year veteran with 96 games of playoff experience. Basically, the Bolts addressed their lone weakness, defense.
We feel with these players, the addition of these players with our core, that we've given ourselves a better opportunity to win a Stanley Cup. I'm not sure how you define all in, but we did everything we could at this stage to improve the hockey team.
That they did. Rangers winger JT Miller also included in the deal. The Bolts giving up Vlad Nemestikov prospects and picks, but they made out big in this deal. More Lightning love coming up in sports. A big win on home ice. What you need to know and see coming up.
They stole it.
They did.
They stole. They must have used Jedi powers or something on the Rangers.
All right, we have Reggie here tonight joining us on Nightside.
And we're going behind the scenes of a very secretive agency. The initials, HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. We're going to show you what they do.
See, snap, share, send to 10.
We just love the view driving across the Skyway.
And thousands are going to be running across the Skyway, including me.
We are saluting military families with the first ever Skyway 10K. And your best view is only on 10 News.
Watch the Skyway 10K live only on 10.